And we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Brura. We're in the middle of Simin Kof Ayin Ches. We're up to Sif Dalid. Says the Machaber Machal Pas B'Makam Echad V'Chazer V'Achal B'Makam Acher. You eat bread in one place and then you continue and you eat bread in another place. Says the Machaber, what is the din? Einoi Mevarech Birchas HaMazayin Ela B'Makim Hasheni. You have to say Birchas HaMazayin in the second place. K'moshanagu Holchei Drachim. As those who are traveling have the custom, Sha'ichlan Derech Ilucham, they eat as they are going. V'yoshin U'Mavarchim B'Makim Siyam Achilasai. And they sit and they make the bracha achrayna on the place that they finish their journey. Says the Mishnah Brura, Sivkatan Mem, V'chazar V'yachal. Says the Mishnah Brura, V'af, Tiladaber Le'el B'Sif Aleph. Even though above the Machaber Paskind, Sif Aleph Ubeis, that what? Aser Lechol B'Makam Hasheni Al Samach Seudah Rishayna. That Lamaisa, you're not allowed to eat in the second place, relying on the first meal. You have to first bench and then the first then make a amaisi on the new eating. And das, according to the Mechaber, does not help when traveling from one house to the next. Still, Sarach Leimer the Khan Mairi, we have to talk about what are we talking about over here? Shekvar Achal. The Lamais over here, you already ate. The Oz Mevarech Bracha. The Oz Mevarech B'Makam Hasheni. Then you make the bracha in the new place. If you ate there, then you're going to make the bracha there. The Gamzeh Mekaimuk, so that's your place. So now the Mishnah Brura takes this full circle. That's the Fida Machaber, said the Mishnah Brura, that you're not supposed to do this. Why? Because according to the Machaber, what's the halacha? You have to first make a bracha achrayna. You have to first bench and then make a new bracha rishayna. So the Mishnah Brura explained that according to the Machaber, the way to learn over here is that you did it. Maybe you shouldn't have, but you did. But according to the Ramah that we baskin like Leil and Siv Beis, rak lechatchila in lakim mekamai charach mekamai. It's only the lechatchila not to uproot yourself. Avol mikvar akar, if you already did it, then mutar lachol. Then you're allowed. If you already did it, if you already continue the Seudah, then you're allowed mutar lachol kan al smach Seudah rishayna. You're allowed to continue eating over here on the smach of the original meal. And if you had this das, then mahani b'sudas bas avlak lechilim ba'is l'bayis. According to the Ramah, with das it helps even lechatchila. So according to the Ramah, it's only lechatchila not to move. If you did, it for sure works. And secondly, if you have das, it works as well. Sivkatan mem aleph. Ela b'makam hasheni. He's got a bench in this new place. Why? The kanu siman sudasai, because that is the end of your meal. And the Machaber gave us a mashal. And the Machaber said it's similar to Holchei Drachim. Says the Mishnah Brura Sivkata Membis, Holchei Drachim. Whom are Holchei Drachim? Deheim lekuli alma muter lalech, muter lahem lalech v'lech. Everyone agrees they're allowed to eat as they go. Even if they don't see the first place due to the distance of their journey, or there's trees or other impediments that block from where they started to where they are now, still says the Mishnah Brura, that is not a problem. Because the whole vart, what is the whole concept of a Holchei Drachim? The whole concept is that they never were conveya themselves originally lachal b'makim sheberchu, to eat in the place where they made the bracha, v'rak leilech v'lachal, and rather their whole mahos of the bracha was one that was made moving, and therefore inach shaving klal al yedei zeh oikrim kaimai. Therefore, this is not considered at all like one uprooted their place. But But if their mindset was to eat the meal in the place they made, then they change their mind. As long as they see the original place, then they're allowed to continue eating, and it's considered one place. If they don't see due to the distance of the journey, then it would be considered a Shinuy Makom because their das was to eat in the original place. By fruits, if you had a Shinuy Makom, and by bread, according to Ramal, as you keep on pointing out, the Ramah doesn't hold his lechatchila. You shouldn't uproot yourself without a brach. And if virtually you das to eat a little bit in a place, and then to continue on the journey, then mahani va'av de'avsekilanais, then it's going to help. It's only going from one house to the next does it not help. But if one is going not from one house to the next, then it's going to be okay when it comes to shakal eitz and hadama. Amnon, however, im hischol echol babayis. One began to eat in the house. He began to eat in their house, and then he went on the road. It's not going to help when it comes to non-Seudah types of food. But by bread, it will help. So let's take a moment over here. Let's see the Dirshu. Dirshu note 31, Dirshu note 32. Regarding this, Holchei Drachim. Says the Dirshu note 31. Va'af im Holchei Drachim mamshichin as a. Let's say the opposite. You're eating as you're walking, and then you come home and you continue eating in the house. Says the Davening Yisrael, you saw Yaakov Fisher, it's not chal on them considered a Shinuy Makom because they never had a kviyas, and therefore they do not need to make a new bracha. But on the flip side, Dirshu note number 32 says that das will not help for payers. You need a new bracha. The reason you have to make a new bracha, says Ramosha, Davka ba'ifin de birchu kishadayin yitzchli shoyer bebayis. Ramosha modifies this very importantly because the Mishnah Berurah said, if you start eating at home and then you go on a journey, you lose your bracha. And this would be very relevant for many people. You make a coffee at home, you take a sip standing by the counter, and then you walk outside with your coffee. So one would have thought, based on the Mishnah Berurah that we just saw, you can have a problem. Because it said if you start at home and then you walk outside, you can have an issue. Says the Dirshu, quoting Ramosha, but if you you're on the way out the door, then it's ki'ilu, you made the bracha on the road. And therefore you're called Holchei Drachim, and you do not need a new bracha. So Ramosha learns that even though you made the bracha in your house, but because you are going on the journey, therefore the bracha continues with you. Continues Ramosha. The bracha helps. Even the extra items that you have on the journey. If you have das, and it's normal to have them. For example, we just had a case of the coffee. So you're in your house, you make yourself a coffee, and you go outside. And then you take your coffee into your car. Let's say car is going to be a shayla, but let's say you take it into your car. Now in your car, you have a bottle of water, you have a candy. Your shahaka will continue as long as it is matzah, it is normal to have those items. Similarly, comes along the Arla Tzion, I've seen Rabbi Tzion Abba Shaul, and he says, it's a ma'isa mechiach that you're going to go. That's also called the Holchei Drachim. Meaning, what is ma'isa mechiach? Maybe you're wearing your coat, and you made your coffee on the way out, and you just happen to have eaten it for a moment in the house, that's going to be considered that the coffee is on your journey. On the other hand, comes along the Chazon Ish, says the Chazon Ish, that if you made a bracha, and we pointed out once already on a candy, while you're in your house, even though you're about to leave, you got to take it out of your mouth and you leave your house. Why? Because you lose your bracha. Now, there's a shartzin over here, shartzin lamed ches, which was at the end of the Mishnah Berurah that we just learned, which the Mishnah Berurah said, if you begin to eat, the one that we're talking about, you begin to eat in your house, then you go outside. So the shartzin and lamed ches, quote, chay adam is mistapek, ule af me eretz la'agala. It's called bayis labayis. It's not going to help das or peiros. Eretz, the land, la'agola to your wagon. Vinir kokach lachmer bazeh, said the Mishnah Berurah. So Dirshu note over here, note number 33 says, what's the story if someone eats in a car? As we mentioned a moment ago, it's a shayla. So you're eating in a car, and now he wants to, he's eating on the street, and now he wants to go into the car and to continue eating. Our case of the coffee, you made a shackle in the street, you made a shackle as you're walking, you're Dunkin' Donuts on the go, and now you sit down in the car. What is the story now? Says Rav Scheinberg, you don't need to make a new bracha. Similarly, the Arla Tzion says the same. Similarly, one that begins lechal in the car, the flip side case. Now he's leaving the car. Says our Litzion, you don't make a new bracha. So too says Rav Yashiv. Because your kvias was to eat on the go is not considered a kvias. And therefore, it's like Holchei Drachim, and you can continue eating. Again, would be very common. Someone gets that cup of coffee on the way to work, on the way to kollel, on the way to yeshiva, on the way to their house. They make the shackle in the car. They get home, they get to kollel, they get to yeshiva, they get to work. They want to bring the coffee inside with them. Their bracha would continue. Again, we have the Chazon Ish that comes along and he is machmir. So makes the bracha on something outside his house. He's making a new bracha when he enters into your house, even if it's in your mouth, as we saw, like the candy. Chaim Kanievsky explains that the wagon in the Shartzion is different, meaning because there's a kasha over here. The Shartzion seem to already be makel in a wagon. So what's the whole discussion? So it's true. We just quoted that Rav Scheinberg and Rav Yashiv Lamaisa extended the din into a car. So how could the Chazon Ish be machmir if the Shartzion? Okay, you could be arguing, but Chaim says no, it's a different case. That the wagon that the Shartzion is talking about doesn't have a roof. That's why it's not called a kvias. But if someone's in a bus, or someone's in a car, then it's going to be different because that's going to be considered more of a makom, and therefore there will be the rules of Shinuy Makom. And we finish off the Sef, Kof Ayin Ches. Let's take Hey, Vav, and Zayin together. Says the Mechaber Yeshavim Shivas Aminim Tunim Bracha Lachreim B'Mekayim. Some say Shivas Aminim is Zaynis Hamayt. Yeshavim Davka Mine Dagan only Miz Zaynis Hamayt. Says the Ramah. Yeshavim Davka Pas Levad. Siva. Mishaniska B'Zoch Hasu Shal Yisrael V'Amid V'Yispal. You realize, actually, why are we doing this? Excuse me. Let's do the Mishnah Berurah for Hey, then we'll do Vav. Says Mishnah Berurah Lachreim B'Mekayim on Shivas Aminim Sefkatim Em Gimel. You got to go back like Brad. No, it's only Dagan because that is what is Mazlin. One should make a bracha even for Zayin Min V'Chelin in Shinuy Makom in Tzarech Levarich Al Kol Shivas Aminim Kamay Al Pas Im Shinuy Makom. So we're going to be makel that you should lechatchila make the bracha where you are. But if there was a Shinuy Makom, you would not make a new bracha. If you match pasuk said beis v'agah, but das agoin bebeuroi the day am soyis is a middle level ikr ladina. Lefizeh peirish al shivas aminim doimim nistam peirish the sheikh with Shinuy Makom kaliyama. The goin is going to be machmer peirish that you should make a new bracha. Says the Mechaber in Sevav. Misha Niska B'Toch Seudah Shal Yispal V'Amar Yispal you always need to daven. You get up and you daven. But if you remain Shal Zligmar Seudah Yispal, even if you don't have time to complete the meal and daven, Shechayiv Lahafsik, you need to stop the meal. If you have Shalach Lach Yispal, you can't eat until you daven because you didn't daven yet. Im Kol Zeh Lo, you have a hefsek. It's still not called a hefsek. Maybe it's a Zman of Mincha Shkia is rapidly approaching. So you got to daven right now. So maybe you would think the obligation to daven, the necessity to daven, maybe that creates a chafs, that creates as if it's considered a hefsek. Says the Mechaber, no, you're going to be allowed to come back to your meal after you daven. Says Mishmur Sevkatim and Bavim Efshar Loy Lachol Ratzalaimer. What does that mean? Mishnah Berurah explains that this is like saying, let's bench. Havla min ivrach. It's ending your meal. According to the opinion that says you're not allowed to eat till Zarch Levarei, in a Rashi Lechel. You're not able to eat Zarch Levarei Chaziv Lechel, therefore you're going to have to make a new bracha when you eat again. Aval be'emes, loy dami, it's not comparable. The Sila explains Mishnah Berurah. Well, one says Havlam and Ivrach, maybe Sharamalos, we'll see all the halachas. That's different. Why is that different? Because it's a Hesach Hadas. You finished your meal. You didn't finish your meal. You just have to go daven. Lo, you have a hefsek, says Mishmur, Sevkatim Em Zayin. It's not called a hefsek, and therefore, well, the das machaber b'sif aleph hu dafka kshem mispal bebayis reminds the Mishnah. According to the machaber, you can't leave your house. I'm loyal basic and have hefsek. Okay, however, if you mash on like didn't das like go, we pass like that God the Rambas of base lo you have hefsek avshal ochla basic and you run out the shul. Definitely could happen. A large Seudah, siyumin parties, etc. You realize in the middle of the meal, you run out. Only if you were not mesiach das to eat. Because of Magen Avraham Dava Moitzi Ein Tzarich Lavarich Machos Hefsek Tefillah Til Sidayim Tzarich Shema Lo Shamar Yadav. Points out to Magen Avraham, when you come back, you should wash your hands again. You might not have washed your hands. Aval says the Mishnah Berurah Harabi Achroni Ali Rabbi Ibn Ozer Graz Magen Ibarim. You don't even have to wash your hands. The base tefillah b'vadi shem yad mil tamfim because you're going to daven. While you daven, you're certainly going to wash your hands. Avol bazeh davka masal bebeis. I'm loch beis knesset shal sham shal sachlit yadav pali bracha. But if you go to shul, then when you come back, you got to wash your hands again. And we conclude with Sif Zayin says the Machaber. Adam shiyashiv tachsu dasa shinas arai. Lo yavi hefsek. You doze at the table, you go to the couch, you take a short nap. It's not called a hefsek. That's the Ramav v'chenifsek b'shar divrei rishos kon shotzach l'nekavat chayotzu bozeh. Use the bathroom or other things. It's not called a hefsek. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sevkatim Memchas Shinas Arai v'afilu Mishah Meshach Zman Lerech Shah. Even if it was a ganze nap, it was about an hour. You didn't go to bed. It was an aynes lo mikri hefsek v'intzach lavarich hamoitzi, and therefore you do not have to make a new hamoitzi. Avon til sidayim beis. Boy, ubeli brach ininu til sidayim, says the Pri Megadim. V'im yashal mitasi shinas keva. Middle of the meal, you mamish go taking out avi hefsek. Says siluk v'esach hadas teverakol. You go to the bathroom. Sevkatim memtes until sidayim sarich, as we've learned. Kimur b'simin kuf samachtal. It's ayin sham. That after you use the bathroom in the middle of the meal, you do have to wash your hands. Let's see a few dirshus over here before we call it a day. Dirshu note number 34 is going to Shina that it's not the Shivas Aminim to Din and Bas with regard to Shinuy Makom. You change your place after you pay with the Shivas Aminim, says the Berch Sabayis. And Rav Yashiv, Rav Shaimer, Lechatzchili, you should make a new bracha before you leave. You should make a bracha achreina. And it's not a bracha shenetzricha. Why? Because you're doing it to get out of the suffix of the Shivas Aminim. As we see, it's a big suffix. Over Lechatzchila, says Rav Shaimer, you should even be choshesh for the goyin. You should not be mishanim mekoyme for a Shivas Aminim, even for a dvar mitzvah. Meaning Rishayim be choshesh for this middle sheet of the guide, and if one is in the middle of having shivs aminim, he should not get up in the middle of such a type of eating. So we said over here, it's not a hesach hadas of katan lamed hey, Dirshu note number 35, with regard to davening. Even though during tefillah one needs to be mesiach das, why? Because you got to daven. Still, it's not considered a hesach hadas with regard to eating. Explains there Moshe Feinstein Komaka means that's why. Because you have das to continue. It's true, right now you're fully focused on davening, but you have das to continue your Seudah afterwards. Regarding tefillah, b'emsa achila, shar dvarim shenedun brachim mekayman, says Aruch HaShulchan, it is considered a hefsek. Kavachayim, even for that, is mekel, even for shakals, etc. And finally, we said you got to wash your hands again without a bracha. Dirshu number 36 says Rav Sheinberg, we have to be worried. Maybe as you were walking, we said if you daven at home, it's one thing. But if you go to a shul, it's different because maybe in the journey to get to the shul, you might not have been showing your hands. But says Rav Sheinberg, a ben Torah that knows to be careful, one does not need to wash his hands again. If one leaves his place and he schmoozes with his friend for an hour or two, then you have to rewash your hands because then it's hesach hadas. But if you're holding the bread in your hand the whole time, then you don't have to, because you're holding the bread, you're obviously not going to be touching a dirty area of your body. And finally, what is Shinas Keva? And Dirshu number 37 says Rav Sheinberg, there's no Shir in Siman, it's only in Kavana. If you go into bed, you want to have a real sleep, or you're just taking a nap, that's going to be the chilek. And like we said, the difference will be you go into the couch, or etc., etc. Okay, and finally, let's see someone who's sick. and he goes into bed and he dozes, says Rav Scheinberg, that's called a Shinas Hara. You don't make a new bracha. Again, it would be negea for one who's sick, maybe someone in the hospital, he's in a bed, so it's that called a Shinas Keva, he's dozing off in the middle of his meal. That would not be called a Shinas Keva. And we'll pick it up from Siman Kof Ayin Tes, B'siyata Dishmaya, in the next Shir.